So I think we're now live. Welcome to everyone who has joined us, who were waiting in the lobby. It's great to have some eager attendees. I'm just going to give it another minute for those who are still clicking through on the link or grabbing their cup of coffee to join us. If you are joining us now, I'm just giving it a minute and then we'll start the webinar. Okay, we've got a good number of attendees now, and we have a lot to cover today. And I also have to start with the housekeeping. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Helen Toon, and I'm a Senior Business Product Owner in the Academic Division at OUP, managing the delivery of new digital products and ideas. I'm delighted to be here today with my colleagues, Abby and Tracy, to tell you about our latest innovations and developments. So before I begin, I do need to go through those housekeeping points with you. Note that the event will be recorded, including the Q&A session. The Q&A will follow our presentation at the end of the webinar. Do use the Q&A box for your questions. You can send those in at any time. You can also vote on your preferred questions, but note we may not be able to respond to all the questions in the session. There is a handout for you to download in the handouts box in your control. And there's also in there a link to the slides we're using today and a list of other useful links. If you have any technical problems, let us know using the chat box, and my colleagues behind the scenes will do their best to help you. Finally, keep in mind we are in different countries, so bear with us if there are any sound delays or any other technical hiccups. Great, so let's get started. I'm just going to run you through the agenda first. We have lots to cover. The first half of this webinar will cover our products, our new products, before then moving on to our platform initiatives. We're going to start with sharing information about the new products launched this year, with Abby talking to you about Oxford Intersections. I'll then cover LawPro before moving on to update highlights for existing products. There's a brief update on open access. Then I'll share with you two key initiatives on the platform, our AI assistants and our ongoing accessibility program. Tracy from Sales will wrap up with a brief update, and then we'll take a look at your questions. I'm now going to pass you over to Abby, who will briefly introduce herself. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I am joining you from New York. My name is Abby Gross. I am the head of acquisition for the social and behavioral sciences. It wouldn't be publishing if I didn't have to remove a cat. Okay, so we are very excited to be speaking with you today about Oxford Intersections, a new concept in scholarly research publishing. Next slide, please. Oxford Intersections are substantial collections of 300 research articles and essays that have been conceived, organized, curated, and commissioned by global boards of scholars representing a wide range of disciplines. Each of these interdisciplinary collections is focused on an urgent and challenging topic, exploring the social, environmental, and cultural issues of our time. An Intersections publishes over a 3-year period, during which time hundreds of scholars contribute, collaborate, guide, and peer review each other's work. Next slide, please. So here's what we had in mind when we set out to build a new publishing model. There's about 6 key principles here. The first is that the scholarship needed to be topic focused, without discipline silos, with space and opportunity for researchers across the disciplines to share their work on the same playing fields. Blending the strengths of journals and books, Intersections provides a digital-first, peer-reviewed, modular format that is more agile and more accessible than traditional publishing. Of course, the project had to be global and it had to be inclusive. We have representation among our academic general editors and section editors from every continent except Antarctica for the time being. Foundationally, intersection centers the social sciences and humanities as essential to studying and understanding societal challenges. In a time where there is uncertainty in the research community, OUP is steadfast in its commitment to our mission and the importance of having vibrant spaces for research, writing, and thinking in the liberal arts. And then there are two important applications. When we set out to build intersections, we knew there needed to be value to teaching and learning. For example, many scholars who have been involved in intersections have noted that it would be a really ideal resource for faculty designing courses and syllabi, for students doing background research for papers and presentations. And to wrap this up, the research published into Intersections is designed to inspire real-world change and inform policy, education, and public discourse. Moving on. Intersections has just launched this spring with our two first topic collections, AI in Society and Racism by Context. So we're going to talk about each one of these for a few minutes. So with AI in Society, we are partnering with Philip Hacker, Chair for Law and the Ethics of Digital Society at the European University Viadrina, in his role as general editor for this intersection. Our section editors pictured here or there include scholars and leaders from the US, UK, Canada, Malawi, India, Australia, and beyond, with backgrounds in law, management, political science, media, informatics, anthropology, philosophy, you get it. Broadly, the AI intersection is posing two questions. We can move on to the next one. Thank you. How is AI transforming the world we live in? And how should researchers, consumers, and citizens contend with its implications for privacy, trust, security, and governance? If we could move two forward. So we wanted to pull out a couple articles from Intersection so you can see exactly how scholars and researchers are thinking about these questions. So in this example, Tina Kempen-Reuter argues in her article that urban AI crafted without great attention to the people living in cities has great potential to aggravate urban issues, not overcome them. And next slide, please. Josh Fairfield makes the point in his article that the laissez-faire regulatory approach that AI has inherited from social media machine learning applications is entirely unsuited to rein in the environmental costs of environmental AI interventions. So this is the kind of clear thinking you can expect in Intersections. Turning now to Racism by Context, the other intersection that is live and launched. We are very fortunate to be working with General Editor Meena Dhanda, Professor of Philosophy and Cultural Politics at the University of Wolverhampton in the UK, with a phenomenal team of section editors, including Evelyn Hammonds, Dolores Jones-Brown, Ebony McGee, and so on. Together, they explore the lived experience of racism. This intersection starts with the premise that racism operates across all social spheres within contexts that carry the legacies of historical racism. The editors and authors address each sphere: politics and government, labor and the economy, education, arts and culture, and so forth, interpreting systemic, structural, and overt racism and their cumulative and connected impacts. Moving on. Ultimately, the goal is to reach readers who will find ways to inform and influence decisions and decision makers. Moving on. Racism by Context poses two questions. What is the lived experience of racism, and how do contexts carry the legacies of historical racism over centuries? And how are they interwoven with factors such as gender and class? Okay, that's three questions. So we have, for instance, Paru Shah, professor of political science at Rutgers University in New Jersey, writing about the context of political campaigns. She suggests that women of color use their difference as an agentic choice, and they are constantly in dialogue with their resistance and its consequences. Moving to the next slide. The third intersection to launch, which will be this month, we're very excited, is Social Media in Society and Culture, which will be followed by an intersection on borders later this year. So we are pleased to introduce here Laik Khan of Ohio University, who is the general editor for the intersection in social media. And if we go to the next slide, we just list several article topics that are going to be part of the launch this month. Moving on, the intersection on borders is led by Alexander Diener of the University of Kansas and Joshua Hagan of the University of Wisconsin, and it will explore the myriad effects of a bordered world, from security and surveillance to migration, mobility, and everyday life in the borderland. Okay, looking ahead, 2026, not too far away, we're going to be launching 4 new intersections on environmental change and the human experience, gender justice, cultures of waste, and climate adaptation. You can see there are some clear themes running throughout the Intersections program, which will publish over a 10-year plus period. We integrate perspectives on climate and the environment, on equity and inclusion throughout. As a sneak preview of work and development, Janet Stevenson of the University of Otago in New Zealand describes her intersection on climate adaptation as exploring who we become socially and culturally as our places, our livelihoods, and communities are reshaped by a changing climate. Looking ahead even further to 2027 and 2028, our teams are currently working with the academic community to develop intersections on cultural heritage, the future of work, disasters, mental health, cities, the state, and the future of global higher education, and radicalism and extremism. And before we wrap up, we wanted to share about another upcoming webinar taking place next week. June 18th, the Intersections team will be hosting a live discussion on the arts and humanities as catalysts for interdisciplinary research. This will be a very thorough, in-depth conversation among scholars. Our panelists include Madeline Detloff, Jennifer Edmond, and Marion Thane, and the conversation will be chaired by OUP editor Molly Richards from our Oxford office. We hope to see you or your colleagues there. Please share. Thank you. Please let us know what you think about Oxford Intersections. And now I will pass back to Helen.
A poll that has come up on your screen, inviting you to vote on which of the topics coming up this year interest you most. So I'll just give you a minute to, if you wanted to interact with that poll. Thank you. It's interesting to see that. It's disappeared from my screen, but I did see particular interest in social media, which is out next week, and AI, which of course is now live. So good to see those topics are of interest to you. Thank you very much, Abby. That was fantastic to hear in depth about intersections. I'm aware there was also lots of information and excerpts and interesting snippets on the slides. So just to remind you that the whole deck is available to you as a PDF in your handouts if you want to refer to anything afterwards. Okay, so now we're going to move on to another of our recent launches, Oxford Law Pro. Oxford Law Pro brings together the best of our professional law content across books and articles with new features and content. It's a valuable resource for anyone researching or practicing law. The sites for our existing law book products, which you can see listed here, will continue to be available until all our customers have moved over to Oxford Law Pro. Oxford Law Pro can be bought as one complete collection or in one or more of five key practice areas. On renewal, existing customers will be invited to move to these practice areas that you can see here. That is arbitration, competition law, financial, international, and technology. This slide shows you what's new and included in a Law Pro subscription. First, there's new content in what we're calling Expert Essentials. Expert Essentials keeps the reader up to date with areas adjacent to law so that they can understand and work confidently with non-legal expert topics. It's launched with articles in 3 categories: environmental science, ESG, that is environmental, social and governance, and technology. And there is a robust program of publishing new articles in new topics regularly. Each article in Expert Essentials includes a succinct explanation and key context on non-legal subjects. Some also contain further reading lists. And then secondly, we have new functionality with the AI Research Assistant available to all subscribers. This domain-specific AI generates responses grounded only in Oxford Law Pro's quality-assured legal research. And I have more on that later in this deck. Your sales rep will have been in contact with you already. Until renewal, you will continue to have access to your existing products. What has changed is that the books will now appear within the Law Pro site with the Law Pro branding, as you can see on this screenshot here. This also means the URLs have changed, but redirects are in place. Existing access methods will continue to work, and discovery services continue as normal, including your MARC records. Usage reporting also continues as normal, and Sushi credentials do not need to be updated. There are dedicated resources on the Law Pro site if you need to know more, including a range of resources for all customers and support for current customers. Links to these resources are in your handouts. I'm moving on now to existing products, covering primary text and reference, as well as the OSO archive. There's quite a lot of information here, but do refer to the deck afterwards. So OSO Archive was launched in October 2023, containing around 7,500 titles originally published in print between 1990 and 2010, but not previously made available digitally on our platform. Internal restrictions at the time meant we could only make this content available in the large PA collections shown along the top row. That is law, medicine, arts and humanities, social and behavioural sciences, and science and maths. We have now introduced purchase options aligned with the rest of OSO, though note this content is still sold separately. As you can see from the bottom half of this slide, we now have PA subject collections. For example, titles in arts and humanities can now be bought as smaller collections in archaeology, classical studies, history, linguistics, and so on. The law and medicine collections are already aligned with our subject collections. All of this content is also available TBT. Existing customers who may have bought the 3 larger collections that have now been broken down, the blue, yellow, and green, will retain their holdings. So I move on now to primary text. Oxford Scholarly Editions Online receives 4 content updates a year. In January, in addition to the usual classics upload, we added this new 2-volume work, the Oxford Chaucer. It is included in the subscription to the medieval poetry module or available to purchase PA. Edited by 2 highly regarded medieval scholars, Christopher Cannon at Hopkins and James Simpson at Harvard, it contains all of Chaucer's works and aims to introduce him to a new generation of readers. At the end of last month, the Su Tang Library of Classical Chinese Literature was launched as a new module on OSCE. This series brings the literary heritage of Imperial China to a global audience. It offers expertly edited bilingual editions with accessible English translations alongside the original texts. And it contains lesser-known works alongside new translations of major masterpieces. The first 5 titles are available as a PA collection, with 6 further titles due to be added next year, and the series will continue to grow for many years to come. At the end of 2020, we launched a new primary text product containing a selection of Oxford World Classics, OUP's renowned series of the world's literature. We continue to grow this product year on year with both frontlist and backlist titles. At the end of last year, we extended the scope of the existing collection by adding over 30 titles in medieval, 16th and 17th century prose, including the titles you can see here. This product continues to be available through both subscription and PA. We move on now to reference. First, I can announce a new Oxford Research Encyclopedia in an evolving topic, food studies. This follows previous research encyclopedias in providing background and critical perspective on interdisciplinary issues. It's also available Southern PA with over 60 articles now available. My final content highlight for existing products is for Oxford Bibliographies. This product aims to share the best academic resources available on a wide variety of topics. Here you can see the breadth of the existing bibliographies, which contain over 11,000 articles and cover over 40 subjects. I'm then delighted to share with you 3 new subject areas publishing in the first half of this year. The first 2 are now live, that is History of Medicine and Food Studies, and the third, Environmental History, is publishing later this month. On this slide are further details on each bibliography, including the launch volume, the editor-in-chief, and the breadth of topics covered. You may have spotted that the Food Studies bibliography aligns neatly with the ORE in the same subject. Moving on to other updates now, we're going to start with open access. Open access is in line with one of our key mission objectives, to disseminate high-quality scholarship as widely as possible. We publish rigorously peer-reviewed, world-leading, trusted open access research, upholding the highest standards of publication ethics and integrity. And we work closely with our publishing partners to ensure that we offer open access in a sustainable way. There's an open access hub on the Oxford academic site with lots more information. There's a link in the footer row on every page of the site that directs you to more information about our OA programme. Then I've just got 2 slides updating you about specific initiatives. For the Oxford Scholarship Online Commit to Open project, we're only a little over 10% of our way to the target. And so a decision has been made to extend the pilot to the end of July this year. The hope is that this gives us time to take advantage of perpetual access money that may be available due to institutions' end of financial years. We've had a lot of enthusiastic feedback for this project, but appreciate that budgets can be tight. Better news for the second of our open access projects. We are excited to share that we have reached our goal for renewals for the Max Planck Encyclopedias of International Law, and we have gone ahead with the Subscribe to Open initiative. From 1st of April through to at least March next year, the Max Planck Encyclopedias of International Law, which contains both the Encyclopedia of Public International Law and that of International Procedural Law, are freely accessible to everyone. Before I hand over to Tracy, the last section highlights 2 key platform initiatives. Both are focused on improving the experience for all users and are examples of our roadmap of continuing development, keeping up with industry standards and also wider technology innovation. In recent months, we have launched 3 AI assistants to help users with their research. The Search Assistant on the Oxford English Dictionary, or OED, the Discovery Assistant on Oxford Academic, and the Research Assistant on Oxford Law Pro, our new product. Our platform team have very carefully considered our approach to incorporating AI in our products. These are not chatbots, but improved search, providing more relevant results. With advancements in generative AI, we wanted to see what would be possible to give a new option for searching that allows for natural language queries and doesn't rely on exact term matching. Each of these assistants is limited to the content in their respective products, and they're currently presented to the user as a search option secondary to traditional search. OUP see these assistants as pathfinders for future change. We know generative AI will change research behaviour, but it's too soon to know how and what our response should be. These tools simply support and encourage content discovery and usage. The platform team will monitor activity and feedback and refine the tools as we learn more. There's lots of information about these assistants online. Particularly, we go in depth into the Oxford Academic Assistant. And again, you've got links in your handout. I then have 3 slides giving you a bit more detail on each of the assistants. I'll let you read through each of the use cases, but they show you the thinking that went into what problem each assistant aims to solve and how it addresses it. If you haven't already, do go and give these assistants a try. So the OED Search Assistant is a pilot running for 6 months. It takes you, the user, to a pre-filtered advanced search results page, and it shows the parameters it's used to get to those results. You can use the AI search assistant to find out more about the Oxford English Dictionary itself. The beta of the Oxford Academic Discovery Assistant was released in March. It was a low-key launch with the aim of making modifications to make it more visible as we refine how it works. Nevertheless, it generated 14,000 searches in its first 5 weeks with a click-through rate of 5.3%. This metric is important, as if the reader thinks the result is more relevant, they're obviously more likely to click through, follow the link to the actual content. The AI Discovery Assistant is basically a more intuitive search, where you no longer need to have exact matches on words or terms. You input your prompt, and the tool provides 10 pieces of content from across Oxford Academic, each piece accompanied by an AI-generated 2-line synopsis. And as I mentioned, there's linked to further information on this assistant on the Oxford Academic site. It gives detail on how it's created, how it was developed, how it decides what's the most relevant results, and how we protect your privacy. The third of our AI assistants is the Law Pro Research Assistant, as I mentioned earlier in this deck when talking about this new product. It's a domain-specific AI developed specifically for legal professionals and built using OUP legal content. It only returns results based on what is contained within Oxford Law Pro. That is, high-quality, peer-reviewed content. The tool provides a generated response grounded in the perspectives and analysis of the best legal minds, with sources pulled out for quick access and indicators for relevance. Everything entered is confidential, and we will never share data entered in the tool. The AI does no automated self-learning, making it a safe and secure place for your users' research. And finally, for me, I come on to accessibility. Having been directly involved in accessibility in a previous role, I know how important it is to OUP that our content is accessible to all, following the 4 principles of web accessibility listed on this slide. Content must be perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. We are currently targeting adherence to level AA of the World Wide Web Consortium Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Again, there's a page on Oxford Academic, again linked to from the footer on every page, that contains details of where accessibility has recently been improved and which user needs these improvements address. Often this is about making it easier to move around and understand the page, ensuring the user can navigate however they choose to do so without getting stuck in a dead end in a menu or pop-up, for example, and making sure they can easily and quickly access the actual content. We also endeavour to make our content accessible. Authors are provided with guidelines, such as not using colour for meaning in an image, and our frontlist is captured to meet the latest standards, such as alt text for all images. We share with our customers our VPATs, or Voluntary Product Accessibility Templates, by publishing them online. The latest one for Oxford Academic is from 2024. These are created on a regular basis by an independent third party with expertise in identifying accessibility issues. They review all aspects of our sites, and the VPATs report in great detail, where applicable, grading the conformance level against criteria for each piece of functionality, whether it supports, partially supports, or does not support. This then directly informs prioritization of development on our platform roadmap. Broadly speaking, the VPATs and OUP consider 2 aspects to accessibility: the site and the content. OUP works with the web guidelines and the VPAT recommendations to continuously improve both, and we aim to be fully transparent about our efforts through a living VPAT that is updated to reflect recent improvements. And now I believe I'm handing over to Tracy.
Thank you, Helen. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tracy James from the Library Sales team, and I just have a few slides today to take you through the Librarian Resource Centre and the Institutional Account Management sites. These are sites which contain product information, user guides, and promotional material to help your libraries make the most out of your OUP resources. So, you can access the material via the Librarian Resource Centre, which you can access via oup.com, or you can access the Institutional Account Management site, which is on the Oxford Academic website. Both of them contain the same information, they're just different routes to access. So the starter guide in the Librarian Resource Centre is just what it says. It gives you information about setting up your account if you don't have institutional access via the library sales team. It will give you information about retrieving usage statistics and editing personal details on your My Account pages. The Librarian Handbook is a more detailed document which contains everything regarding discoverability, MARC records. It actually has a link back to the account starter guide. So if you only keep hold of one of these documents, please make sure it's the Librarian Handbook. There is also a very helpful navigational presentation of the Oxford Academic site, which it would be worthwhile watching. There's also information on here about IP addresses and the fact that since February last year, Oxford University Press no longer updates IPs directly. This is now done via the IP registry. You can find all of this information in the Librarian Resource Centre and the Librarian Handbook. So the Librarian Resource Centre also contains starter guides, handbooks, training tools, and social media toolkits for on an overview of all OUP products, or also on a product by product basis. You can sign up for live webinars, or you can watch pre-recorded demos. Here are some useful links. This is the information page on the Oxford Academic site. You can get to this by clicking on the eye here, and this will give you all of the information in very helpful columns. That's very useful to have a look at. We would like to continue the conversation with you and to stay in touch. We operate librarian research panels throughout the year. You can complete and submit forms at the links shown. There are separate research panels for law resources. We are also contactable via Blue Sky, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So follow us on those platforms, please. Thank you.
Very much, Tracy, for taking us through that fabulous range of resources. And that comes to the end of our presentation. We now have plenty of time for questions, so do put your questions in the chat. There was one about LawPro that I put a reply to in the chat. I know we also had 2 questions in advance about Oxford Intersections, and Abby, I appreciate you hanging on at the start of your day to take any questions on intersections. So if we could start with this one, which is why Intersections has focused on the humanities and social sciences and not the science STEM fields.
Great. I love this question. I'll start by disclosing that at OUP, we are enthusiasts for the humanities and social sciences, and we have been for a very long time. So this product, this huge project really began with the premise that we wanted to bring humanities and social sciences scholars and scholarship into the public conversation. We also all benefit from the contributions that the STEM fields make to bettering our world. But we didn't see a similar place for that. We see the research happening everywhere. Arts and humanities scholars, social scientists, behavioral scientists are working really hard to make the world a better place. But from a publishing perspective, we wanted to bring that together, put a lot of emphasis and oomph behind it for the academic community to see, and to basically bring a bigger impact to the scholarship by bringing it together.
Thanks, Abby. Great answer. I just love the enthusiasm that comes through when you talk about intersections. I think that yes, and there was one more about intersections. How does OUP ensure diverse perspectives? Struggling to say my words today, in intersections. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you. Yes. And in order to ensure diverse perspectives, and we can define diversity in so many different ways, whether it's geography, research background, personal background, so on and so on. We do this through our structures. So for every intersection, we have an advisory board, a board of section editors, general editors, peer reviewers. And through these structures, it is very time consuming. It's hard work. It's hard self-examination at every path to continuously assess and make sure that every intersection is really, really representative of the perspectives we need to feature. So it's basically careful plotting work to ensure that representation along the way.
Great. Thank you, Abby.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any more questions in the chat just now. I'm going to give you a couple more minutes in case anything occurs to you. If any questions occur to you afterwards, or we weren't able to answer your question, please do remember you can always contact us at the email address you can see on the screen now, library.marketing@oup.com. We'll follow up and we'll get that answer to you. Many thanks to everyone who's attended today. We hope you have found it useful. Don't forget to complete the exit survey afterwards. And we do value your feedback as it helps us to improve these events in future. I see we have another question. Will OUP allow institutions to disable, re-enable the AI tools as needed? Some may find it helpful to disable until library staff are able to dedicate time to practice training using the new tools ahead of having to educate and field questions from public users. There are no plans at present to enable librarians or institutions to control use of this tool. As I've mentioned, and you will see when you go to these platforms, we haven't made it front and center at present. It is subsidiary to the usual quick search. We've also provided lots of information. So as I say, particularly on Oxford Academic, but also on LawPro and the OED, there is information both for librarians and that users will find helpful to them in understanding what the search does and how it might be useful to them. So I would certainly encourage you to point your users to that. And if you or your users have any questions or difficulties with using the tool or any feedback for us to help improve it, please do get in touch. Oh, this is a question I'm hoping possibly Abby might be able to ask. Is there a means of checking the quality of peer reviews, especially with open access?
There's no difference in how we handle peer reviews between traditional publishing and open access publishing. And all of our peer reviews are vetted by our delegates. If it's a US publication, by 2 layers of delegates, US and UK delegates. And if it's UK publication, it's by our UK board, which are faculty at Oxford. I am very happy to talk about this with you, Heather, beyond this call, if you'd like.
Thanks, Abby. Got some great questions come through. I think that's all the questions at the moment. We'll just give it another minute or so in case anyone else is frantically typing, given we still have some time today. No, it looks like that's it. But as I say, do reach out first if you think of any more questions, and do use all the tools that we have provided to you. Thank you very much for your time today. Have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, whatever the time is in your part of the world. And see you soon. Thank you. Goodbye.